No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a very special edition of No DQ&A video. Typically, it's just me riding solo, but we're going old school tonight. We are doing a dual No DQ&A video. I am being joined by one of the OGs of NoDQ.com, back with us tonight to discuss wrestling, answer your questions as a team. Good old JM, Jeff Meacham, in the house over in California. Jeff, how's it going, man?
No DQ Galaxy. The band is back together. Just played dumb music. Anyway, yeah, it's good to be here on a Sunday. Like I said on Open Mic, I try to keep Sundays open in case the review ever calls for a little dose of meat. And since Virtue's still enjoying Wedded Bliss, well, the few weeks you can enjoy Wedded Bliss, we're off doing NoDQ&AV instead of the review. So here we are.
And for those of you wondering when the No DQ review is coming back, I think Tuesday, but I'm not positive on that. Not official yet. Stay tuned to the No DQ channel. It will be back soon. Virtue is still out on his honeymoon, enjoying a little bit of time away from wrestling, but we are going to discuss a lot of topics, including the King and Queen of the Ring. You could super chat questions, and those will take priority. Now, we already got one here.
Of course.
Psycho Jet Black wants to know, how many times will Jeff say, "Here's the thing"?
42. The answer is always 42, folks.
All right, go ahead. Say it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to say here's the thing at least 4 or 5 times because that's the gimmick. There's even a t-shirt that says here's the thing that was designed by Aaron that went on the official Jeff Meacham Network merchandise page. So here's the thing. It'll come up a lot.
All right, so let's talk about King and Queen of the Ring. A lot of questions were sent in via email, so I will get to those. Thomas wants to know, who do we think will be in the finals of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments? And I believe the finals will take place at the pay-per-view. We'll have the men's final and then the women's final. So, Jeff, in your opinion, based off of the matches we have now, who do you think will be in the finals?
Well, it's funny because if you follow the WWE social pages or Mr. Pierce, there was another change made just today for the show tonight in Macon, Georgia. Selena Vega is out with injury, again, if you believe that or not, replaced by Maxine Dupree. I'm actually predicting she's going to be the Raw finalist in the tournament, and she will go on to face Tiffany Stratton from SmackDown at the pay-per-view in Saudi. Men's side, Gunther versus LA Knight's my final. That's what I think is going to happen. Gunther's going to go all the way from Raw. LA Knight's going to get that close chance again and then come up just a bit short.
All right, fair enough. I think Gunther will face either Randy Orton or LA Knight. One of those two. Probably Randy Orton, because I feel like WWE has cooled off at this point. As far as the women go, I feel like it will either be Bianca Belair or Jade Cargill on the SmackDown side. I don't think Tiffany Stratton is going to make it to the end. I know people are very high on her. My gut feeling is, and Bianca may be an unpopular pick, but I see her on the SmackDown side. And who did you say for the Raw side?
Well, I said Maxine Dupree because they kind of put her in here last minute here. I know people shit on Maxine, and that that is what it is. But I looked at the Raw competitors that are left in the tournament that moved on from this last week and that are still involved, and I just feel like having Maxine be put in that spot almost feels like it was meant to be anyway. So I'm thinking they're gonna tease us with that. As far as the SmackDown thing goes, again, Jade or Bianca seem kind of obvious, but I think that's why they won't do it. I think that because I know Tiffany faces Bianca in their next respective matches. They're against each other. So I think that Tiffany will just edge out Bianca. And then if Tiffany ends up facing Jade in the quote-unquote SmackDown side of their the semifinal, if you will, I really think that they're going to find a way for Jade to come up short, and it'll be very small, very minute, but it'll be the start of the fracturing, the tension between the tag team champions, and then it'll be a slow burn. It has to be a slow burn. But I think Tiffany winning the Queen title will be the start of that discussion.
That would surprise me. I mean, I think it would be cool to see her win. I think there's a better chance she wins Money in the Bank. That's going to be my bold prediction right now. I don't think she's going to win Queen of the Ring, but my prediction is she's the front runner to win the Money in the Bank. I would say probably Io Sky will be in the finals on the Raw side. Maybe Lyra Valkyria. Those would be my safe bets at this point. Definitely not Zoe Stark at this point. And Mr. Tito sent in a $2 super chat, says, Jeff, thoughts on the Splash Mountain theme change? I guess we got an off topic here.
Hey, that's okay. I was still with the company when they made that official, right? And I remarked at the time, so we're taking the theme away based on a movie that was very controversial in the 40s involving race issues, and replacing it with a theming based on a movie where the primary character's mother was of a certain race, and she worked for a white person. So we're replacing one movie of that kind of nature with another. Cool, guys. Very good, Disney. I'm glad we're keeping up with the times and not causing any more controversies or anything. Jeez. As far as the actual theming, I've been able to see the kind of like behind the scenes. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun when it actually opens up later this year. I was a fan of Splash Mountain when I was a kid because, you go, I mean, God, a day like today would be perfect. Splash Mountain's hotter than crap out here in LA and Orange County, but I'm not a big fan of the ride anymore. So maybe the new theming will entice me to return, because I sat in a line for 2.5 hours last year when it closed because my niece wanted to go. So, ugh.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Jeff. And
yes, sir.
Back on to the topic of the Queen of the Ring, Ian had emailed a question, said, Happy Mother's Day. Thank you, Ian. Happy Mother's Day. Says, do you see the SmackDown bracket final being Bianca and Jade, and do you see a heel turn from either of them? And there was another question here from Andrew Skinner. Who will double cross each other first, Bianca or Jade? So, Jeff, we'll talk about Bianca and Jade. Where do you see that going with them?
So I don't think the heel turn is going to happen yet. We kind of glazed over this very briefly yesterday. It may have been earlier in the week. I think it's too soon to start talking about this actually going to be a thing. But I said it yesterday. Anytime you put two single stars together that aren't already a tag team when they're first brought in, the end goal is get them to a breakup, get into a hot feud. Like that's the money there. So I think their ultimate blow-off match will be probably in Vegas for WrestleMania, which I'll be happy to see live. That'll be fine. So I don't think the heel turn is going to be now. As far as the finals of the tournament, I think it's going to be one of them, but not both of them.
Yeah. I think there's going to be maybe some tension with whoever wins. The loser will act like everything's cool, but eventually it's going to come back around, and we will see a split with them. Jade is definitely somebody that has a lot of potential, but I think that, again, people are going to be mad about this, but I think Bianca Belair is probably going to win this tournament. I just have that feeling. Maybe I'm wrong though, but if I had to bet money on it, I would bet on Bianca to win, and maybe Jade. I mean, it could be the opposite. Maybe Jade beats Bianca, and then Bianca finally turns heel. She's been a babyface for quite a while, and maybe we could see a change of pace with her.
Yeah, I think as long as they're the tag team champions together, that's going to be the thing that holds either of them from turning heel. And I definitely think Bianca is the more likely to be a heel. So if she does win the tournament and they are no longer champions, then maybe we will see that long-awaited heel turn. I know people talk about, oh, well, she's the new John Cena, she'll never turn. It's like, you know what? Frustration on a baby face will do wonders for a character change.
Very true. Mr. Tito sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Tito. Says, hottest MILF in pro wrestling. Happy Mother's Day. What a nice PG question from Mr.
What a
Tito.
Beautiful question on Mother's Day. Always good to have a delightful positive message from Mr. Tito. Honestly, like, if you, God, this is so weird to even dissect this question. I'll just go with Stephanie just because that's the easy answer.
Wow. All right, fair enough. I'm not going to answer because I'm happily married, but Jeff is single, so Jeff can.
There you go. That is why he is the owner of the company, and that's why he's the smart one. There you go.
All right, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Psycho Jet Black. Maybe we'll get an actual serious question from him later tonight. He says,
Possibly.
I'm still waiting for Jeff to release a shirt where his face is close up to the camera saying, I'm tired of people's shit. Also, he misses Virtue. Do you miss Virtue?
I do miss Virtue. I always miss Virtue when he's on, especially when you two get into a ridiculous down the rabbit hole discussion like you had the last couple of times I've been watching. It's fun. As far as the shirt, there is a meme that we created on the Jeff Meacham Network broadcast that has that exact phrasing and verbiage. So we're working on it. We're working on it for you, Psycho.
There you go. We got an email question here from Caleb with a K. Sent in a question here because there's also Caleb Jacobs with a C. Sure. Says, to me, I would like to get Aaron and Jeff's thoughts on this. Can you return Rhea Ripley as a heel if Liv takes her spot in Judgment Day if they stay heel? And part two, does she return as a babyface only to be a part of a double turn? So, Jeff, I'll go first on this and then get your thoughts. You could have her come back as a heel, but I think she's easily booked as a babyface. Like it's printing money, bringing her back and having her come after Liv Morgan, who took her out, ended her long title run, and then Liv, I suspect, will be with Dominic sooner than later. Everyone's going to want Rhea to come back and kick Liv's ass. So I do not think it's a good idea, and I wouldn't even consider it. I think Rhea Ripley has to come back as a massive babyface. What do you think, Jeff?
No, I agree. You figure when Triple H got hurt in 2001, he was the most diabolical of heels. He was so evil that he allowed Steve Austin's heel turn to kind of actually flow a little bit easier. It was going pretty bad, if you remember, but it actually made a little more sense with Triple H by his side. But when he came back, the Garden blew the roof off for him. So you almost have to bring him back as a bring Rhea back rather as a babyface, and just kind of ride it out. You know, Triple H was babyface the entire first half of 2002. When he had been a classic heel the previous almost 3 years. So bring her back as a babyface, and then when the situation calls for it, when the momentum or the flow of the story is right, that's when you pull that trigger. And it was great when they did it with Triple H because it was because of Shawn Michaels. That was such a beautifully told story, having him be the one to attack Shawn. It was such a great way to get him back on the dark side. Same kind of thing with Rhea. Just ride the babyface wave out until something comes up. It's like, you know what? Here's our opportunity.
There you go. Thank you for that, Jeff. And Miguel Ortiz sent in this question via email. He says, why do fans make a big deal out of things that you personally think shouldn't be blown out of proportion? For example, no fireworks or custom stages or other changes that have no effect on the in-ring and on-screen product. So, Jeff, why do you think people make a big deal out of things like this, such as, no pyro, and, why don't they do the old school stages with like the backlash hooks that were swinging around, stuff like that?
Right. So I've long been of the opinion, Aaron, and I told you this privately. I told you this in front of people. I've told other people this in front of other people. Wrestling fans are the best example of they are not hapless. They have something to bitch about. The WWE product is the best it's been in a long time. The company's making money hand over fist. Oh, but the lighting isn't as good as it used to be. Oh, there's less pyro. Oh, the staging is as good as the Attitude Era. So I'm going to, I'll fix it on that. I can't bitch about the match quality. The match quality's good. I can't bitch about the storylines. Storylines are good. I can't bitch about Vince anymore. He's gone. So the lighting's, it's like, dude, just enjoy it. Our buddy Noah Foster lives by just enjoy life and enjoy professional wrestling. It really is that simple. And I know with our respective jobs, we don't have that luxury because we have to critique it. That's what we do every day of the week. So, but I think that wrestling fans just are the microcosm of society needing something to bitch about. So I think that's why.
I would say that it's probably because of nostalgia. People grow up on something, whether it's an era where there's lots of pyro and, things change, though. That's what you have to keep in mind, that nothing ever stays the same. Wrestling is always evolving, and they're doing different things, and sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's not. But, people are like, as you get older, you're like, well, back in my day, things were better here. That's what they grew up with. That's what they were used to. And, people don't like change. People like a certain structure, and they like their routine. They like things a certain way. And I think at the end of the day, it's just hard when something goes in a different direction from what you've been used to and what you grew up on, and what you were vibing with.
No, I mean it's there's a question coming up later about one character not getting as hot as the other, and I think that's very much nostalgia and very much timing. Timing is everything in life, and I think that we get so fixated on what we first see when we become a fan of something, that when that changes drastically, we get upset, and it's fine to be upset about it, but the the little minute details, like less pyro, or the entrances, the entrance stage is looking different, or God, the only thing I will agree with, the minute things people bitch about, is the music, because that's not a minute thing. Music is a major thing in wrestling. It has been since the golden era, during Hogan's early run. So yeah, that one, I'm with you guys. Like, please continue to bitch about that. Maybe they'll change it. I doubt it, but and Tito makes a great point there about everything, and especially in this country, it's just economically and socially such a, that wrestling's kind of like a little case study society about that. So they find that to latch onto and complain about, and that I'm not innocent of that. I do the same thing. So you just try to enjoy what you can, and if you honestly don't enjoy enough of it, then don't watch it.
And to be fair, I do think some of the criticisms are valid, as you mentioned, the music. So there you go.
Oh yeah, yeah. The music that's not original artist, or carried over from another company like Cody got to, it's rough. It really is.
We got a question here from Psycho Jet Black. He's got a serious one for us. He sent in $5. So thank you, Psycho. Says,
Psycho?
seriously, whatever happened to MVP, and why can't he manage other people other than Omos, since Omos isn't really doing anything? Can he join the Pride? I mean, do you think there's a role for MVP as a manager at this point? Like, where would he be fitted or slotted? Who would he manage?
See, I think MVP is one of those guys that great was a great character at the time he came in, right? But I feel like once that original story or original run kind of faded out, it feels like they're almost like forcing the character development on him, which is why, as a manager, it was cool to see him come back. But now it's, they tried very hard with him and Lashley, and the Hurt Business was good for everybody involved. I thought Shelton and Cedric could have done a lot better, and I feel like when he left, or when he was removed from that group, and then that they broke up, and then he was put with Omos, that just seemed like a, a regression for him. Putting him back with Lashley, and then along with the Street Profits now, it almost feels like here's a makeup game. Like, sorry, our bad, but it'll feel like not as authentic and not as cool. So, is there a place for him? Yes, but it can't be just you know cut the one picture out, and here let's just tape him over this one and make everything will be okay. The guy has something more organic for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure who you would put him in with at this point. So I think the best course of action is just to maybe keep him sidelined until there's like a really good opportunity. If there's somebody who you're bringing in who has a lot of potential but isn't the best talker, bam, you got MVP. Like, bring him in when there's a good opportunity. And otherwise, I don't necessarily think you need him if you're just, like you said, forcing him into a spot managing somebody.
Yeah, if they hadn't dropped the ball so bad with Omos, it'd be okay to put those guys back together. But man, like, again, Omos had that giant potential, but he ended up suffering from the Giants' fate. If you're not the Big Show, as a giant or Andre before him, you have to hit big immediately, and you have to have a medium of skill. Otherwise, you're going to get lost in the sauce. It's going to be bad. And it happened with Omos, just like it happened with Ali and a lot of other guys before him.
Thank you for that, Jeff. And we'll go over to Building Nexus, who sent in $2. Thank you for that. All right, so here's a good question. Where does Gable Steveson rank among the biggest busts in WWE? I mean, I think he's got to be up there considering his stature, you know, coming in as an Olympic gold medalist, a lot of hype. Unfortunately, the problem is that there was maybe a lot of pressure on him to succeed at a very high level. Like people were thinking he's going to be the next Kurt Angle, and like nobody can really be the next Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle was like a 1 in a million athlete that came in and just picked up on WWE immediately. So yeah, I think Gable's got to be up there as far as like the biggest busts in WWE. Where would you put him? I mean, I think top 5 for sure.
I mean, God, Angle was such a prodigy when he came in. It was just he took to wrestling like a duck to water. It was ridiculous how quickly he adapted. There's kind of a question that was emailed to me that kind of, or that you forwarded me that kind of goes with this. You know, it was said it seems like the most hyped signees for WWE end up becoming the biggest flops. Gable Steveson, Hideo Itami, Sin Cara, among others. And you know, Jade's the newest hot signee. Is she going to fall in that same category? I don't think Jade will fall in that category. I think they've got the hype machine behind her, and they've got the recent TV development over on the other channels with her. But yeah, Gable. See, I am much more partial to like Gable Steveson, Rulon Gardner, Ronda Rousey coming in as a former Olympian, and I like what he did there. Terrible, Brad. You're a terrible person. But I think Gable's definitely top 5. The potential was there. I don't think they allowed the potential to develop because they threw him out there fresh off the Olympics and then hyped him up and then did nothing. The young lady who won the medal in the delayed Tokyo Olympics, I forget her name, forgive me. But our buddy Ryan Katz was talking about her because she made her NXT live event debut not too long ago. If they keep her under the radar and cultivate her, she'll be in good shape because she's not getting that overhype like Gable did. So Gable's in recent memory, definitely top 5 of potential loss. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and that was a question from Miguel Ortiz, and yeah, I would say it's because of all the pressure that's put on these guys. Like, why did they end up going nowhere? Because people wanted Gable Steveson to be the new Kurt Angle, and you know that's just not going to happen. Kurt Angle, like I said, 1 in a million.
Yeah, Kurt Angle. There will only ever be one Kurt Angle, just like there will ever only be really one Roddy Piper, only one Hulk Hogan, only one Ric Flair. Thankfully. You know, just like those guys come along once in a lifetime if you're lucky, once in a generation if you've got a freaking shamrock, a freaking 4-leaf clover in your butt. Like that's just like that's not going to happen every time, every generation. And Gable just was not going to be that guy. He didn't have the charisma. At least it wasn't allowed to cultivate like Kurt Angle did right away.
Very true. Dwayne Atkinson sent in $5. Thank you for that, Dwayne. He says, now with the draft over and Trick Williams and Roxanne Perez are the top champions, who do you all see as this year's male and female breakout stars in WWE?
I think a lot of that will be determined when they get to Battleground in Vegas in a couple weeks. They're having the North American Women's Champion crowned there. They're going with a lot of the fresh and new face NXT. I think what you see come out of the UFC Apex there out of Battleground is going to be who's going to be your next stars for the next 2-3 years. They've got a great system in place now with Triple H running the company on the creative side and Shawn Michaels handling that down in NXT. So I think I know you don't watch NXT on the regular. We do the brief discussions about it when we get the opportunity, you and I. But I think that what we see out of NXT the next 2 or 3 weeks is going to be very indicative of who's going to be the breakout stars in the next 6 months.
I've noticed in like their marketing and promotional material, it seems like they're pretty high on Brian Pillman Jr. Do you think he might be a breakout star this year?
I want to believe they're doing that for Lexus King. It's just he came in with all that fanfare and all that the Pillman, again, you mentioned nostalgia earlier, the Pillman nostalgia behind him, but they've kind of like cooled off on that, and they haven't really done a whole lot with him to like really put him in that ultraviolet spotlight. And maybe that'll be better for Lexus. Maybe not having that immense pressure on him will allow him to grow into a better talent. So maybe it could very well be. Obafemi is another guy that, unfortunately, being a TNA fan, and when I see Obafemi's entrance and I see his presentation, I think of Moose like right away. It's the same basic cadence of music, even if you watch the products. So, but Obafemi, I've said it for a while. I'm not going to use my one F-bomb because I'm not going to use it till the end if I don't have to. But I've said from the beginning, Obafemi is one bad mucker filter. He is a bad dude. So
I agree.
Definitely in the talk. And Julia coming over is huge for WWE.
Yeah. After watching the recent NXT Premium Live event, Obafemi definitely seems like he's going to be a big star in WWE, and Julia is a major signing, and people have been raving about her. So yeah, I think she's going to probably be the next big female star to break out of the pack in NXT, and she'll be a top one. But anyways, let's move on here. We got a lot of questions to get through. So thank you everyone for sending in your questions. And again, super chats take the priority. So we'll get to another one right here. I want to give a shout out to Jerry. Jerry was the one who brought the No DQ t-shirt to SmackDown on Friday and got it on TV. So thank you very much for that, Jerry. We very much appreciate it. Much love to you. Jerry says, it is time for AEW to use smaller personal venues for TV. That's a question. Also, love being able to rep No DQ on Friday night. Jeff gets that shirt. I will get it on.
I love it. I love that. It was right over Barrett's shoulder, and it was right after they had to freaking turn the camera away from a much naughtier shirt. So God bless WWE for realizing, can't show that one on TV. Oh, hey, No DQ shirt. Thank you to WWE for sending the other shirt. As far as AEW, I think it's time for a lot of cost cutting in AEW. Showing these venues that have the potential for more capacity with lights tuned down, with tarps up, with things blocked off is just bad. It's terrible. It's a terrible look. I mentioned that they were in Canada this week for both Dynamite and the Saturday shows. But the two venues they were in, you're not going to know this because you're not a sports fan, Aaron, but the two venues they were in were the venues for the hockey teams that are opposing each other in this round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So the majority Canada, especially Edmonton, hockey's a religion. So like as soon as Dynamite was over, people were dashing outside to go watch the viewing party of the hockey game because they were in Vancouver that night. So AEW's had a very ill-timed themed week with the Star Wars stuff preempting Collision last week, with the Max ad on SmackDown, and with the bookings in Canada. It was just a bad timing for AEW week, but concising the venues down, I think, would benefit them greatly. Like, don't rent out the major hockey arenas. Go find like the minor league arenas. Like, they were in they had a show in Ontario. Newspan had a show yesterday in the Ontario arena where the minor league team for the Kings play. That would have been a perfect venue for AEW to run on the regular. And that's where the Bucks live. It's where the Bucks operate out of, the Ontario area. That would have been perfect for AEW to run consistently as opposed to the Forum or whatever.
I will say this. Yes, they should run smaller arenas. Stop running NBA arenas except for pay-per-view events or when they start drawing better. I personally would like to see them run in special locations like what WCW did with Club La Vila back in the day for spring break. And those kind of fun things, just to change it up. And always I would say that a smaller arena that's packed looks better than an arena with 4,000 people, but it's a 15,000 seat building. It just doesn't look good on TV and makes the promotion look minor league. And, You want people tuning in to be like, wow, there's a big rabid crowd here. You don't want them to tune in and be like, well, nobody's here, so must not be a hot product. Perception is everything, as I like to say. James.
No, you're right.
James mentioned this comment here. The reason is that in Europe, keep in mind that All In was the first AEW show outside of North America. So that was a big deal. You had people coming from all over Europe for that event. And, this is the second one. This is only the second AEW event outside of North America. In the United States, they've been running in the US on a regular basis. So, the audience has been burned out a little bit. In Europe, it's still a hot commodity, and that's why they're able to draw better there. WWE, they've been doing well in the States, but whenever they go to the United Kingdom or France, they're going to draw big crowds because those fans don't get as much of the live wrestling as we do. We're spoiled in a way because they'll come to Detroit multiple times a year. They'll come to LA multiple times a year, but sometimes you might only get one opportunity a year if you're lucky in some of those European countries to see WWE. So that's why they can draw the big Wembley number.
Well, I mean, think about it. They were WWE wasn't touring out of North America for so long when they had everybody's favorite ace-hole running that particular department. So once they got that leash, undone, man, they have not had a premium live event in North America in a hot minute other than WrestleMania. And I think that's a great look for the company when they're trying to have this global branding. So that's an awesome, again, perception is reality. The next time they're going to be in North America for a premium event is going to be Money in the Bank, and that's still going to be in Canada, not here in the United States.
Right. By the way, I think AEW should run in Saginaw, Michigan, because they got a hockey arena there. It only holds about 5,000.
Yeah.
5,000 people. I think they could fill it up at least on their first visit, and it would look good on TV. And, hey, I would be able to go to that. So AEW, book Saginaw, Michigan. WCW did, and they actually filled the place.
Although the last time you went to Saginaw, you got your first bout of COVID after fighting it off for over 2 years. So there is that.
There is that. So thank you for reminding me of that, Jeff. Now I have to reconsider that.
Stay safe, brother.
Absolutely. All right, moving on here. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Psycho. Says, will Charlotte Flair change her gimmick when she returns? I mean, I hope so, Jeff. I think it's good for her to change it up a little bit. Everybody's got to evolve. And to Chris Jericho's credit, even though I'm not a big fan of the learning tree routine that he's doing right now, he's trying something different. Jericho is always reinventing himself, changing his gimmick, using different phrases, wearing different attire, different music. I think Charlotte could definitely benefit from a little bit of a change. What do you think?
I think Charlotte needs to get as far away from her father's gimmickry as possible, especially after the PR year he's had. Number one. Number two, I think her style will change with the knee injury. I think she'll have to do different things than she's done before because she's going to be working knowing that wheel can go again anytime. Yeah, she's rehabbing like a monster. She's in the gym every day. She's kicking ass on this recovery, but you still have to adapt when you come back from an injury that's significant. A lot of guys and gals don't do that, and then they get hurt again. Looking at you, Rey Mysterio. How many surgeries on that knee, right? So her style will definitely change. I think a gimmick shift at the very least will definitely only benefit her more than anything.
Thank you for that, Jeff. Well said. And Psycho Jet Black sent in another $5 super chat, so thank you for that. Says, who would you rank among these AEW wrestlers that could be the biggest stars in WWE? So I guess we're going to rank them. Wardlow, Will Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Brody King, and Aleister Black. Jeff, I'll go first on this one.
Okay.
I think that Brody King would probably be at the bottom just because he's untested in WWE. I think the other guy, Aleister Black, Malachi Black, I think he'll do very well because he's already been there. Triple H guy, he'll fit right back in. Ricky Starks, I think will do well because he has Cody Rhodes to vouch for him, and he'll get an opportunity. And he's a good talker. That will go. Yes. That will go far for him. Will Hobbs, I think has a good shot. You know, big guy, and I think WWE knows how to utilize those guys well. Wardlow is the guy of all of them that I think has the most upside. He was on the cusp of it in AEW, and I think they really dropped the ball with him. But he could talk. That's one thing that perplexes me too. Like when Wardlow was out there cutting promos, I actually thought he did a good job, and yet they didn't fully capitalize on him. So Wardlow would be my pick because I think he's got the size, the look, and he can talk. And then maybe Ricky Starks would be up there, and Brody King would probably be last. But I think Brody could do well too. You know, just because he's got a good look and he's solid in the ring. So yeah, I think all of them would do well in WWE. But in your opinion, what order would you put them in?
I would definitely put the House of Black guys at the bottom, but I actually put Malachi below, or Alistair below Brody, because Alistair's been there. Tommy End was in WWE for a while, and he got opportunities. It just didn't work out, and I don't think it would work out if he went back. So I think he's at the bottom, right below Brody King. And then as far as the other three guys, man, I've been high on Ricky Starks from day one. I was a hop, skip, and a higher away from getting him for an interview before Daniel scooped him up for the NWA, because Ricky Starks is a no DQ / Jeff Meacham fan. Love me some Ricky Starks. So he'd be my number one guy. Wardlow's right there below him because, again, Wardlow's got everything going for him, but being lost in another freaking stable or faction. Jeez, like that's just killing him that he's not getting out there and get the time. And then I put Hobbs in the middle. I really didn't get high on Hobbs until I saw him work the entire weekend on the Jericho Cruise. He was just another guy. And then he came out there and had a fun weekend. He had a great set of matches throughout the course of the trip, and he really impressed a lot of the people on the ship, including me. So for me, it's Starks, Wardlow, Hobbs, and then Brody and Malachi.
And by the way, MJF was not included on that list, but he would be the top guy because MJF is one of the best, if not the best talker in wrestling right now. I would say he would be at the top.
Yeah, I think if Max is able to get the 4-lettery out of his system, he'd be fine in WWE.
Well, I feel more confident than I did a year ago after what we've seen during WrestleMania season with The Rock using profanity.
Fair. That's fair.
I think MJF has a decent shot of being able to be close to what he was doing in AEW as far as pushing the envelope. I think they would give him some leeway.
I think he has a very important series of discussions and decisions to have and to make when he comes off this injury.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure when his contract is up, if he signed an extension, which if Tony Khan had any sense of a brain, any semblance of a brain, he would have signed him to a long-term deal before giving him a year run as champion,
Well, and he may have, but that championship reign is over. And the injury came on in a hurry, and apparently it's given a further setback. So a lot is going to happen when he comes off this injury rehab, and we see where he goes, whether it's back to AEW or to WWE. Either way, I think he'll be in good shape.
I'm missing the guy, and hope he's back,
too.
But got to get healthy first. So shout out to MJF.
Yep, we love Max here, NoDQ, and he loves us.
And maybe he's watching. So again, if he is, get well soon, Max. We miss you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Josh Mansfield. Shout out to Josh. Sent in a $2 super chat. I don't even know if I should justify this with an answer. What is your favorite Matt Cardona match? If you know, you know. Well, guess what? That was a Zack Ryder match, so it doesn't count.
Okay, but okay. If we want to use the man's name, my favorite match with Matt Cardona is his wheelchair meeting the floor. Whoa, he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's your answer, Josh.
Matt Cardona versus Kane is my favorite Matt Cardona match.
That's right. No, Zack Ryder versus Kane, but Matt Cardona versus Blue Kane. If you watched it recently, that shit was funny. He got his revenge on Kane at last. Yeah.
All right. All right, so here we go. I mean, now we're just getting the troll questions. So James sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. James says, sorry, JM, but I have to do this. How about Tatum and them Celtics? Okay, back to the show. My apologies.
Oh, it's a basketball thing. I think I'm not a basketball fan, but how about them Bruins down 2-1 in Florida, and they're losing the game right now? They'll be down 3-1 by the end of the day. How about them Bruins? Anyway, my Kings were out, so I can be an asshole. I don't care.
I had no idea what any of that was. So
Now you're good. Yeah, I am not a basketball fan. I haven't been since Jordan actually retired for good. So
yeah. Hey, if any of you out there want to needle Jeff, talk shit about the LA Kings, then you'll get him riled up.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to get saltine-induced Meacham, get on the Kings, because they're already out of the playoffs, and the freaking team that beat them might win this series they're in now. So anyway, but yeah, Meacham Meetings tomorrow is a perfect opportunity for that to super chat and just berate the shit out of me on that. So there you go.
And we're talking about the Los Angeles Kings, not the Sacramento Kings.
Yes, the Sacramento Kings, unlike our own LA-based media, including Fred Rogan, who Channel 4 used the Sacramento Kings logo when the Kings were challenging for the Stanley Cup. Terrible. Freaking Tanner went to Rogan's head. Anyway.
All right. So Josh Mansfield sent in a $2 super chat, says, how much money to get Aaron to try football? Well, guess what? I watch the Super Bowl because I have no other choice. I'm basically forced into it. That's married life for you. Even though Caitlin doesn't really watch football, but she has to watch the Super Bowl, so I have to by default. The only joy I got out of one of the recent Super Bowls was the Popcorners commercial that had the Breaking Bad guys, Walter White, Jesse Pinkman, and Tuco Salamanca. The Popcorners. Tight. That was a great commercial, and that made the Super Bowl worth it. Anyways, how much money to get me to try football? I mean, I'll buy a football and toss it around if you want to super chat $100. There you go.
I was going to say, if we ever dig up the old archives, some of the physical comedy and stupid shit Aaron did to himself over the years, man, trying football would be nothing.
Exactly. All right, Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Building Nexus says, how about MJF versus the New Elite? Yes, sign me up.
I am here for that. I am here for the irony of Max siding with Tony Khan in the battle against the New Elite. That is great writing and potential great television. I'm here for that.
Yes, I mean I would love that 100% MJF coming back. You know, whenever he's ready. Again, he's got to come back when he's healthy. Don't come back too soon.
Yes,
but yeah,
please.
If the cards are right and they fall in line, the stars align, MJF versus the Elite will be a fun feud. So we'll see what happens with that. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Which years did WWE have the worst set of pay-per-views? I think he's talking about like the quality of the shows, not the actual design of the set, you know, like the entrance way. I think he's talking about the actual worst string of pay-per-view events. But if I'm wrong, correct me, Psycho Jet Black. Worst string of pay-per-views, Jeff?
I was going to say, if we're talking match quality, it's got to be 95. 95 was just bad.
Yeah, some of those In Your Houses were brutal.
Yeah, the early In Your House were pretty brutal. I will say 93, even though there was only a big 5 because King of the Ring was just established, King of the Ring, other than Brett winning and the story of that, was not a good show. Hogan Yokozuna was awful. Michael's Crush wasn't even very good. And that tag team 8-man or whatever was rough. Rumble 93 was bad. Our buddy Lee can't test how bad WrestleMania 9 was. He saw it in person, God bless him. And then Survivor Series 93 was pretty rough too. SummerSlam was shit. Oh God. So
2004 was not great. Like the main shows were pretty good, but some of those middle shows, like when you end a pay-per-view, a world title match with a DQ, like that just doesn't sit well with me.
But by contrast, Backlash 04 had Cactus and Randy. That was damn good too.
That was good. But I mean, some of those that had like Snitsky and Heidenreich on the card were pretty tough to watch. You know, those single branded pay-per-views, I felt like like they lacked depth with the roster around that time, you know, and some of those matches had no business being on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I would say 03 until like Vengeance 05, except for One Night Stand. Those are pretty rough couple of years. But yeah, for a single year, it's got to be like 93 or 95. Those were
Yeah.
just absolute dog crap.
Yeah. 95, I would say, was probably the worst. Yeah. He
Yeah,
did.
because there were so many more of them
Yeah, he was talking
in
about
your
worst
house.
pay-per-views. So thank you for that. So Tiger sent in a €2 super chat.
Ooh.
Thank you, Tiger. Says, why did I start No DQ and what motivated me? Well, first of all, just being a big fan of wrestling, obviously, was a motivation. And when I first started going online, I saw a thing like an advertisement to make a free website. I did that. And I just thought it was really cool that like I could post something and like people all over the world could see it. And that was something that motivated me. I'm like, well, this is fun. People all over the world. I can communicate with people from anywhere, fellow wrestling fans. And, it just ballooned from there. It got bigger and bigger and, became what it is today. So, yeah, it's just having the interest in wrestling and just, the internet was a new thing there, and it was just, opening up a whole new world of opportunities and different things to do. It just blew me away that you could put up something on a web page and people from another country could read it. Like that fascinated me.
And yeah, remember, guys, we were, let's see, we were 16, 15 years old when No DQ started. So the world being at our fingertips was a completely like wow for us when we were high school kids.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing. And, by the time I got involved with it, it was already, the summer of '02 when I actually got fully involved in working with Aaron. But even still, man, you're young, you're 18, 19 years old, you've got your life ahead of you, and the world is your freaking oyster, especially when you can reach out and go, here's the world right here in front of me. So it was just a really cool thing from the beginning.
Absolutely. So thank you for that. And Psycho Jet
Yes.
Black sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Psycho. Says, seriously, if Tony Khan hired you to give him 3 pieces of advice that he could use to improve AEW, what would you give him? Also, more Shad Khan on AEW. Yes, I agree 100%. So 3 pieces of advice for Tony Khan to improve AEW. And I mean, it's easier said than done, right? We're sitting here on a computer talking about it. He's out there doing it. So,
No, yeah.
it's tough to say. We're individuals and we all have our own opinions on it. My number one piece of advice would be you need to focus less on catering to the most diehard wrestling fans, and you need to try to bring in some new viewers. Like if you want your business to grow, you need to build your audience. Maybe considering hiring a few more people to help write the show, so you have some different viewpoints. I think Tony Khan's trying to do too much. If that's my critical feedback for him, it's that I think he's trying to wear too many hats. He's trying to micromanage everything, and it's not quite as bad as Vince McMahon. I mean, Vince was scripting people heavily, and that's something Tony Khan's not doing. But maybe sometimes you do need somebody to be a little bit more scripted. Sometimes it's better to have things more scripted than not. I mean, you really need to find a balance, but I think you need some more people putting in different theories on things and just providing different ideas. Not sure what else to say on that. I just think they need to experiment a little bit, try some different things, and you got to make the shows more unpredictable. That's my other thing too.
This question is great for today in particular, Aaron, because it's Mother's Day for us here in the United States and different parts of the world. I saw a great meme today, and it just hit and resonated with me. Adult child brings their mom outside of the porch and go, "Mom, here's your day off. We got your replacements for the day." And there's like 25 people out there, one to do maid, one to do errands, one to all the different jobs a mom actually has as a mom. Tony's trying to be a mom. He's got 25 different hats he's wearing, and he's not a hat rack. He's sitting there doing this shit. He needs to advocate a lot of the responsibility, and the biggest one is creative. He needs to let somebody else book. My goodness. But yeah, I don't think Tony's a bad guy. I don't even don't think he's an improper management person. I just think he's not managing his own stuff properly. I think that he definitely needs to abdicate a lot of the responsibilities to people with more knowledge than he
Yeah.
does. He is a great fan, and there's nothing wrong with being a wrestling fan. But if you're going to run a company, you have to go with people that know what they're doing.
Yeah. And I would not have him as a TV character anymore. Like,
No.
but I would say that AEW needs to evolve. Like, there's only
Yep.
so many years you can present the same type of television, and being a big budget version of PWG worked 5 years ago. I'm not quite sure it works now. And the problem with his booking is that I feel like every match on the card is predictable. Like, you can call the winner, you know exactly where they're going with it. And, just having great wrestling, I've said this many times, like, it's only going to have so much appeal. And part of the other problem right now is that WWE is on fire. The wrestling is better. It's definitely been given more of an emphasis than before. He's just got to try some different things and evolve the product and get some fresh minds in there to come up with some new ideas and try some different things.
Yeah, he suffered from the same problem that Bischoff had. Bischoff had a hot angle and hot creative because he kind of had a lot of free reign, and then WWE picked up the pace, turned up the intensity, turned up the shock TV stuff, and WCW got shackled by Turner, and Turner's the Turner company, not Ted himself. AEW is unfortunately going through the same thing, other than the fact that they don't have the shackles on them from TV. But WWE realized they were creatively getting possibly competed with again, and they adjusted. WWE has always found a way to adjust to remain that top company, and when they weren't for that year and a half, they still rebound. Tony Khan has to play catch up, unfortunately, and I don't know if he and his 25 hats is capable of doing that.
Yeah, this is a real test for Tony Khan because
yes,
he was able to thrive when AEW was fresh. It was, the shiny new toy. People were burned out on WWE, but now the company's struggling in a bit. This is the real test if Tony Khan can turn it around and ride out the storm and help AEW reach the next level. That remains to be seen. That's going to be a real test to his leadership, and if he can do this for the long haul. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think the booking going into, and especially coming out of Double or Nothing, is going to be a very clear indication of what AEW we're going to get in the second half of this year.
Very true. All right, let's move on here. We got a lot of super chats, so thank you guys for sending them in. Much appreciated. Psycho Jet Black sent in another $5 super chat, and this is an interesting one. If you could choose Bo Dallas / Uncle Howdy's opponent for WrestleMania 41, who would it be? I would like to see LA Knight, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, or even Bobby Lashley. So, Jeff, let me say this. I don't know yet because I'm not sure how people are going to receive or how this group's going to be received. Uncle Howdy's group, Wyatt 6, whatever they're going to call it. I presume they're going to be baby faces because they're going to be. I mean, they're already with these teases. They're already paying tribute to Bray Wyatt, so people aren't going to really boo that. So I think I'm going with this idea that they're going to be baby faces. They're going to be very popular, so you're going to put them against heels. Thus, I'd probably say Judgment Day. Like, you got to have them against a strong heel group. Maybe the Bloodline, but the Bloodline's going to be busy with their own stuff. Maybe initially they could feud with Cross's group. In fact, that'll probably be like their first big program. But WrestleMania, it's got to be somebody like Judgment Day. So maybe a Finn Balor would be the best choice on this list. What do you think?
I was going to say Balor or Judgment Day because think about it. You've got these two very, very specifically character-based situations, and you're going to be in Las Vegas, the capital of spectacle. Like, they could do so much crazy shit inside that stadium in Vegas. I mean, we saw the brute entrance of Edge at that stadium in SummerSlam in 2021. Just stuff like that could be pulled off very easily. So I would say Balor if it's a one-on-one, or Judgment Day if it's a group setting. Absolutely. Great choice. And that was going to be my start the minute I saw the question.
All right, well, thank you for that, Jeff. And Tiger sent in a €2 super chat. He says, Jeff, how did you get RVD to agree to an interview?
So I think the first one was a combination of me and the co-host at the time, was it not?
I believe so.
I believe it's so. So
Hey,
basically, we had a. Oh, go ahead.
it was a joint effort.
Yes, very much so, as it turned out. So if I remember and guys, remember guys, this is shit, 19 years ago. Damn, yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be 20 years WrestleMania season next year. Holy crap! Anyway, God, I feel old. I can feel my spine curving saying that. If I remember right, we had a series of phone numbers that we had been given by other of the some of the other media outlets, and one of them happened to be Rob, and I figured it was the number for his store. So I called the store. It's his own friggin' number. Oh, okay, cool. And he said, "Can you meet me at the comic book store? We'll do the interview there." I said, "Sure, why not?" And we ended up driving down. I mean, at the time, Aaron and our coach at the time was still living out in the valley, and I was in this house that I'm sitting in right now. And we just drove down to Lakewood and went to the comic book store. Spike Dudley was having a meet and greet that day because it was WrestleMania week of 2005. So we met Spike Dudley, we met Dave Hebner, and then we sat with Rob and chatted with him on the air for whatever it was, an hour, and then we BS'd for a while after, and that was it. And it's been really cool that it's turned into a 19-year friendship with Rob and his willingness to kind of just talk about literally whatever. I know that's the buzzword with whatever with RVD, but Rob is the reason I went back to NoDQ in 2014. I'm walking out of Disneyland, with Dylan, my son. We were just, doing our thing that day, and I got a message from him. Hey, I got something to promote. You still working with NoDQ? I said, give me a second. And I literally called Aaron. Hey, I got this from Rob. What are you doing? He goes, nothing. So we ended up going out to Venice Beach for the interview for that day. So it's Rob is so responsible for a lot of things, and a big one is getting he and I back together on the professional side of things. So I will forever thank Rob Van Dam for his ability and willingness to put up with our craziness.
Yeah, I agree. RVD was definitely one of the best interviews. I would say the best interview that we ever did, and like he did multiple interviews with us. He was always up for doing whatever.
It's definitely my best single interview, the one we did in 2008 out in the Malibu Hills. That's the single best interview I've ever done, ever,
Oh, wow.
without a glimmer of doubt in my mind saying it.
There you go. All right, so now I guess we'll move on to this next question.
Okay.
So give me 1 second here. Sorry about this. I was trying to pull something up. All right, let's get to this next question. We got a super chat here from James. Says, Aaron, I wrote columns for you on WWF WCW under the pseudonym Jimmy Slaughter. I almost read that as Jerry Slaughter. Says, right? I'm not sure if you remember that. All columns had to be submitted by 5 a.m. What? I don't remember that.
I remember that part, but I do remember the Jimmy Slaughter column on the old WCW. I do remember that name very distinctly. Yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it, but I mean, there were so many people writing on the site. I mean,
oh yeah.
I probably went through like 100 columnists over the 20-year period. You know.
But God, submitted by 5 a.m. God, we were even up till at least 8. Shit.
Yeah, that I do not remember. But I'll have to go back on the archive.org and see if I can find some of those old columns.
Yes,
I mean, I'm glad that archive site exists because you can go back and read some of the old articles. It's pretty cool.
That's how I still pull up the Extreme Mayhem logo to this day, is by that archive.
Yes. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Says, wouldn't MJF have to face Adam Cole before the Elite? And don't forget the whole group, the Undisputed Kingdom, and maybe even Samoa Joe. He's got to get some payback on Joe too. I mean, what does MJF do when he comes back? Does he go right after Cole?
Well, we got to get Cole back in the ring and doing something substantial first, like he ain't done yet. So, like, why am I gonna enjoy MJF coming back to fight Cole when Cole's current run on TV is colder than a cucumber? Like that seems like to me. The Elite's the hot act right now. If they go ahead and Adam Cole and getting some Hutch getting motivation behind them, then yeah, go ahead and bring Max back to do it. Otherwise, not so much.
Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Psycho. Says, what are your current thoughts on Jack Perry? I mean, I don't mind Jack Perry. I think he's entertaining as a mid-card heel. Like, I don't know if I can take him all that seriously as a heel. I feel like he's a smaller guy, you know. It's hard to really look at him and be like, oh man, Jack Perry, he's intimidating. Like, I don't want to get in a fight with that guy. Jeff has frozen, so there's another Jeff. We got two Jeffs instead of two Doinks. We got two Jeffs.
It's the worst scenario ever for the Meet Your Maters. Yeah, I got a phone call. Sorry about that. Yeah, with the Adam Cole thing, they got to get hot again. Like, the whole story is colder than a cucumber, like I tried to say before I got frozen. So if they don't do that, then I don't see a reason to put MJF with them. If the Elite's still the hot act, then that's where you go.
Tiger sent in a €2 super chat. Thank you for that, Tiger. Says, and I really don't have an opinion on him. Maybe, Jeff, you can give one. He says, thoughts on Conrad Thompson. The thing is, here's the thing. I'm going to use your line, Jeff. Does that count as using it? I don't really listen to his podcast, so I have very little of an opinion on him. So, Jeff, I'll throw it over to you.
I enjoy the basic feed on Conrad's channel as far as the YouTube stuff. Now, I do listen to his show with Jeff Jarrett on the regular, the one with I'm trying to think what it is, JR on the regular, and the one with Shivani sometimes. And definitely when the Pritchard show does happen, because it happens a lot less frequently with Bruce being back with WWE now, but I do listen to it when when it's actually existing. But I get a lot of comments of, oh God, Jeff Meacham was doing Conrad Thompson stuff before. Conrad's like, no, Aaron was the one doing Conrad Thompson stuff, because he had the show we had all the columns, we had all the things on NoDQ.com. So do I feel like he, took an opportunity that was presented to him and kind of went farther than we did? Maybe, but they've got a niche audience just like Aaron does, just like I do. And I don't begrudge him anything, man. He was able to cultivate a friendship with somebody that was at the time, grinding an axe with WWE as far as not being with the company anymore, being Bruce Pritchard. And then he happened to meet Ric Flair, and that his whole life changed because of it, because he's now an in-law. So good on him. Good on him for taking a fandom and making a success out of it.
All right, thank you for that, Jeff.
That's really what it comes down to.
And I think that was well said. I mean, from what I've heard of him, I think he does a good job, and I don't think he'd be in the position he's in if he wasn't good at his job. So
no, the fact of the matter is, the guy is a mortgage broker by trade. The fact that he's such a wrestling fan and was able to create this little ad-free shows community, good for him for doing it, man. I harbor no jealousy. It would be cool if we could do something like that, but circumstances and timing. We always say it. Timing is everything. He hit at a point he needed to hit.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, that's really all I have to say on him. Steve-O had a question via email. He said, with NXT getting the North American Women's Championship and AEW having the TBS Championship, how long until you think the main roster will get one, like a mid-card women's title? And what do you think about the general idea of a mid-card women's title?
I am very much a mixed bag on that answer, and I've answered this a couple different times recently, actually. I am all about talent, be it men or women, that don't get enough TV time or enough exposure on television to have the opportunity to do that. But there are so many damn titles as it is. Like, I think adding another one on the main roster would just be overkill. I personally think this title in NXT is overkill.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot going on. And to have, two separate women's championships, 2 or 3 men's, like, it's just a lot for one brand of a company.
Yeah,
And it's happening across the board. We now no longer have undisputed tag champions. We've got separate top champions, Intercontinental and US, and there's just a lot going on. Too many titles is 99.9% of the time not a good thing.
I agree. My answer to that question would be get your women's tag team titles elevated so people care about those titles first. Then we can talk about introducing another women's
Right?
title.
Yeah,
That's all I got
exactly.
to
You know,
say about
we're
that.
yeah, we're so fixated on, what the again, the new shiny toy thing. Well, how about the old rusty one we've had in the attic for a year? Can we get that and try to get that thing back over?
Exactly. So that's my answer to that. TJS sent in this question. Wants to know, why do we think Kane got held back from being a top guy like
There
The
it is.
Undertaker? I mean, he was more afraid of Kane due to the voice box. He cannot believe that Kane never won a Rumble or a multiple WWE title. 2003, Kane was peak character work. Remember the chained up entrance with the guards. Jeff, I think it was just like you said a moment ago, timing is everything. I
Yes.
just don't think the timing was there. Like Kane, when Kane got hot, keep in mind Steve Austin was the guy, and Kane got that 1 day title run. But yeah, it was just to pop a rating. And in 2003, maybe that would have been a better opportunity. But Triple H, he was the guy at that time, and it was the Triple H era. It was the reign of terror, as some people put it, and timing just wasn't in Kane's favor. I don't know. They could have done it. He kind of had a little bit of a run like in 2010, I think. Didn't he have like a longer run with the world title with that angle with The Undertaker and Paul Bearer?
Undertaker and Paul Bearer coming back. Yeah. I literally had one word written for that answer. Timing. Undertaker debuted in 1990 when it was still very character heavy. Still, the occupational job was the thing, right? So, or the occupational character, excuse me, occupational, the same word. Yeah, very good. I learned in school. Whereas Kane in 1997, you have to remember, guys, the wrestling world was already changing in 1997. We hadn't quite started the Attitude Era, but it was definitely the dawn of it. Especially if you believe WWE DVD releases. The NWO was already a year and a half in, and they were cooking with gas, but with more reality-based stuff. Kane coming in being another supernatural character with more powers than the Undertaker, and trying to get it over. It did. It became the most successful long-term story in the history of wrestling. You figure they went 2 decades with that thing, but the initial Kane presentation was only going to work as a battle with or a partnership with the Undertaker. There was no developing that character outside of that until he took the mask off. Whereas Undertaker, he did the initial, Western Mortician. Then he evolved into the Creature of the Night and the Creatures of the Night with him. And then he evolved into, the the Prince of Darkness character, and then he evolved into the Ministry guy, and then he became the American. He was able to evolve. That Kane character was never going to be anything except pigeonholed until they did something to drastically evolve him, which was the Unmasking in 03.
Yeah, and all things
So that's
considered,
why.
I think that Kane character had a pretty good run. All things considered, you look at all the matches
Yeah.
and the longevity of the character. It did very well. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't an upper tier character. Like, I wouldn't even say he was a mid carder. I definitely think Kane was an upper card guy, but he was never going to be the guy that they were going to build the company around. And quite frankly, Undertaker wasn't even the guy that they completely built the company around. I mean, they kind of tried in like 1997, but when else in WWE history was Undertaker really the focus of the main event scene? Like, he was always like
Right.
the guy challenging the champion, or in the second to last match. But Undertaker was definitely a top guy, and I would say Kane was as well.
Undertaker was an attraction. He wasn't the guy on the marquee. He was an attraction. Okay, so he was on the marquee, but he was never going to be the long term face of the company like a Hogan or an Austin or a Cena or Roman Reigns or whatever. He was always going to be that. Oh yeah, and the Undertaker. So he was always going to be the attraction.
All right, SSBS Fanboy sent in $2 and says, if Chris Benoit lived, would he be in the business now? I think he would be like doing a trainer role. I don't think he would be wrestling at this point. What do you think, Jeff?
See, this is going to sound really cop-outy and shitty, and I'm sorry in advance, but that's a butterfly effect thing. Because if Eddie doesn't pass the way he passes, then maybe Benoit doesn't pass the way he passes. So that would mean Eddie and Benoit were both still alive. So then, we would have had them around for longer than 2005, 2007. But everything staying the way it is, except Benoit and his last 3 days of his life, if he's still around, I think he would have ended up getting out of the business. And I only say that because if you go back and watch the footage tonight, Eddie, the memorial show for Eddie, and then unfortunately watch the Dark Side of the Ring episode, Eddie's passing really was the final.
Uh-oh. We may have lost Jeff.
I think he would have bounced out as a result.
Well, thank you for that input, Jeff. We very much appreciate that. Lots of words of wisdom there from you.
I try.
Tiger sent in a €2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, how was the experience and vibe of the Ministry in the 1990s?
It was different. It was dark. It's almost ironic that he asked that, because on the 23rd and 24th this year, JJ and I have decided we're going to do retro watch-alongs of Over the Edge and Raw Zone, which was very much in the time of the Ministry of Darkness and the Undertaker. Mark Calloway found a way to evolve the character into a place that I know neither of us expected as fans. That was some intense stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
It was definitely outside of the box for a character that was running outside of the box to begin with, right? We had people being sacrificed on altars. We had, dark weddings. We had, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on. The vibe of it was definitely creepy. The experience of it as a fan, I think right up until Vince pulled that hood off, great stuff. But once that happened, it was like, oh.
It was definitely an evolution of the Undertaker, and he made it work. He turned that gimmick around and made it cool for the Attitude Era. Like I was very impressed with it, and did huge numbers for WWE.
I liken that to the whole Wolfpack Elite thing the same year. I think if it had just kept it small, kept it in-house, and not expanded and made the corporate ministry, which was ridiculous, I think it had potential. But you also have to remember, the man behind the gimmick, Mark Calloway, was already beat up. That's why he left in September of '99, because he was just so beat up. I think if Undertaker had been a little healthier, could have been a lot more long-term thing.
This Guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, how many tries do you give a guy for a main event run? At least 1 or 2. I mean, the thing is, like, sometimes it might just be a matter of finding the right gimmick. And I'm trying to think of a good example of a guy where they pushed him. He didn't really get over at a top level, but then they tried again and it worked. Maybe somebody in the chat can provide a good example, Jeff.
Roman Reigns.
Perfect example.
That's the best example in the modern era. That guy had potential forever as the breakout star of the Shield. He ends up not being that guy because Rollins became that guy. And then it was just, well, let's make him like John Cena. When John Cena out promos you trying to be the next John Cena, you're doomed. You're doomed. And then he took that second hiatus during the early part of the pandemic and came back and just flipped that switch. That was an unbelievable. Think about it. That was 4 years that guy went on a run after being in a company the previous 8 with just like, okay, get on with it already.
Yeah, Roman Reigns was probably the best example of that, of a guy that, they kept having to try with him, and eventually they struck gold. Sometimes you just got to keep trying different spots, and that gold mine, or that, strike oil, that oil might be right there. You just got to keep trying with it. But
No,
yeah,
yeah,
at some point, you got to cut your losses. But I mean, if the guy has potential, you got to, if a gimmick doesn't work, I mean, here's another example. I mean, he wasn't a top guy, but we were just talking about him. Kane, they gave him gimmick after gimmick after gimmick, and finally Kane was a top gimmick. Not like the main event as we were saying, but still, he made the big time, and he made it a huge success. But he was Isaac Yankem. He was the fake Diesel, the Unabomber. And eventually they struck gold with Glenn Jacobs. So yeah, you just got to keep trying with people, whether it's in the main event or the mid card. You just got to try different gimmicks until one catches on.
Yeah, Glenn's a great example of a guy who, whatever you think of Glenn Jacobs and his politics now, a guy that just was so like nice and just had everything going for him, but the right kind of opportunity until 1997.
Randy Orton's another good example, because they tried with him in the beginning as nice guy Randy Orton. That didn't work. Then they had him in Evolution, and then he turned babyface after winning the world title, and that kind of fizzled out. And then eventually, once he became the apex predator, he really fell into a groove and really caught on.
I think Randy's example is more of an example of him evolving than the character in the main event push evolving, because Randy had a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah,
and he did it, and then they went, all right, do your thing.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad WWE didn't give up on him. He was talking about how he almost got fired. They almost gave up on him in like 2005, 2006, and they didn't give up on him, and he came back and became bigger than ever.
Yeah, I think when he came back from that suspension in 06 after broke his ankle in the King of the Ring tournament thing after WrestleMania, and he came back later that year, I think he had finally got his mental shit together.
And Bobby Lashley's another good example. They gave him another shot, and he was a big success. Oh, you know what? He came back, kind of fizzled out, and then eventually with the Hurt Business, he got into that groove.
Yeah, Lashley's a multiple company stutter step and retry.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely if there's potential with somebody, you got to keep going with it. We just named some examples. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, what were the funniest moments you guys had together? Well, I have one. Broom Key Hall of Flame. There was an event in 2004. We were in Las Vegas, and yeah, Jeff was a little hammered. And then there was that time that we were in San Diego, and I was driving you around, and you had your friend from that band that you were friends with at the time, Rue.
Yeah, Jenna's first major band. Okay, so if you've ever been to San Diego, there's the freeway, the 8 freeway that just keeps doing that shit. It just goes around and around the whole city. It's obnoxious as hell. And if you miss your exit, you're screwed for 15 minutes every time, without fail. Well, when you get the navigators in the back of the car drunk off their ass, poor Aaron's just stuck. So, yeah, usually alcohol and Jeff led to the funniest stuff. And if Jeff can remember, even better. I mean, that's always good. God, I mean, luckily there were more funnies than bad. I mean, that's definitely been a thing. I honestly think one of the best funnies was at what's now called, I forget what it's called now, but Mount Asia with Lee when we were doing that show, and we did the All Right show, where Lee and I said that phrase like 53 times, I think it ended up being, or whatever it was, and we just did the entire show just going to different attractions. That was so. I think, we kind of look back on the episodes of XMB and the fact that we can't air like 99 of them because they just wouldn't work. They aged like milk, but the times recording them were always fun.
Yeah, and then there was the time that you were in the Jailbird outfit and you got pushed off the ledge into the Universal Studios Hollywood water fountain. That was a classic.
How I didn't go to jail for real with that. I will never understand that one. That one was good in the moment. It was upsetting the birthday cake thing because I had a show to go do and I was a mess. But
There
yeah,
was that.
it's
There was that time that you got thrown into the Pacific Ocean fully clothed.
oh yeah, that luckily for me, my fiance lived close by. We were able to get me in the dry clothes before I got freaking pneumonia. That was good. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, there were quite a
That's
few.
my whole Rocky Horror audition experience that we had on the show, which ironically is one episode we can't air because nothing really bad about that one in 2024. But my doing the audition and nearly breaking my leg running back up on stage, you putting on that black hair dye that was supposed to come right out and ruin my fiance's bathroom. Oh my god, just flat everywhere. It was awful. But again, it's fun times. You're young and you're stupid, and so it's all fun.
Yep. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, can Baron Corbin work as a face now on WWE SmackDown? Sure. I mean, the crowd liked him on SmackDown.
Yep. Yeah. I having met Baron and seen, his potential for babyfacedom, he can do it, man. He he made a funny apologizing to me for my son switching fandoms from Kofi Kingston. It's like, dude, I'm sorry. So he's got that potential in him to be comedic and be a babyface. They just gotta let him run with it.
Absolutely. All right. We got this email question from Sun Goshuaku said,
Yes.
And this is a bit of a loaded question. And I read it earlier and I was like, I'm not even sure how to answer this one. It says, what are your favorite and least favorite match from each of these 4 iconic feuds? Stone Cold versus The Rock, Triple H versus The Rock, Mankind versus The Undertaker, and Trish Stratus versus Lita. And I'm thinking, first of all, with all due respect to Trish and Lita, like I only remember one match, and that was when they main evented Raw. I don't even remember another match that they had, so that it's hard for me to answer that one. Honestly, I don't even remember a Mankind versus Undertaker match that I thought was like a weak match. You know what I mean? Like maybe the Buried Alive would be the bottom one. Top one would be Hell in a Cell, obviously. Triple H and The Rock, again, probably the Thursday Raw Thursday match that they had would be the bottom, as they got more evolved with their characters, the matches got more entertaining. And obviously the top one would probably be I really liked the SummerSlam 98 ladder match, but also the Iron Man match they had in 2000 was maybe the peak. Steve Austin and The Rock, again, maybe one of their early matches, like one on Raw before WrestleMania 14. And then top one, I know people say 17, but I think I would go with 19. So, Jeff, real quick, your thoughts.
Yeah, Austin Rock definitely a 19 for me at the top. The one I actually put at the bottom of that was the cage match I had on Raw the night of WrestleMania 17 because I just I didn't enjoy it personally. That wasn't a fun match for me. Triple H and Rock, the top one I picked SummerSlam 98. The bottom actually I picked their I Quit match from the night after the Royal Rumble 99 because I wasn't a fan of the match and the finish was shitty because of China's turn. Like the finish was more interesting than the match. Like I didn't think The Rock would lose the title again right away, so I was kind of like, wasn't invested. Mankind Undertaker, the top for me was actually the Boiler Room Brawl. I thought that was fun to watch. Their bottom one wasn't technically Undertaker, except he was under the Kane mask when he and Mankind had that number 1 contenders match and he pulled the Kane mask out of Undertaker. The moment was great, but the match was absolute dog crap. Trish and Lita. My favorite actually is Trish's retirement match because it was so emotional and so fun and so sweet. My least favorite is their New Year's Revolution rematch where Lita hurt her knee and they had to change the finish. That was tough.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I just go with that one. I mean, I don't remember it too well, but I'm just going to go with that. All right. One more here. We got this question from Colin Andrew, the Cleaver. Shout out to Colin. Says, in all of professional wrestling, who has been the best mom character? Happy Mother's Day to all the No DQ moms from the Cleaver, Colin Andrew. So best mom in wrestling. What about Judy Bagwell?
Oh, you got to go with Judy, right? Got to go with Judy Bagwell just because of our friendship with Mark. Luckily, there haven't been a whole lot of mom characters dragged into things. I mean, Vicky Guerrero obviously comes to mind. Judy Bagwell definitely comes to mind. I think that unfortunately the problem is them being mothers. They haven't really involved in the storylines. Like you haven't seen a whole lot of involvement where the sons and daughters of Shane and Stephanie have been directly involved in stories other than making entrances in Shane's boys' cases. Oh God, I forgot about Mama Benjamin. Oh Lord, that's definitely up there in the top 5. That was ridiculous, but it was fun.
Yeah. Now, if we're talking about strictly TV characters, I'd probably say Judy Bagwell just for fun. If we're talking about like real life wrestling mothers, like I would say Helen Hart, being the matriarch of the Hart family.
I would say Helen. I would say, especially looking back retroactively, Linda McMahon.
Yeah, I was going to say Linda. I mean, if we're talking about, but his question was for characters, and I would say Linda as far as a character.
I was going to say Linda even as a character. She was, especially in like 99, and then, God, the ill-conceived heel turn in 2000. Was that 5? Yeah, 5. When they brought in Joey Styles for Jim Ross to replace it, because good Lord. Yeah, I would say character-wise, the most fun was Judy Bagwell, without a doubt. But Linda McMahon's right up there for me, too.
This guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat, says, do you miss rock songs being the themes of pay-per-views? I do. Yeah.
Yep, I do too. I'm grateful we have the format we have over on the Jeff Meacham Network, because next year for Wrestling Karaoke, which is going to be a week before WrestleMania, like it always is, I'm using just WrestleMania theme songs. So it's going to be everybody's been involved in WrestleMania can qualify, but also the actual themes of WrestleMania. So like Easy Lover from the first one, My Way, So yeah, I mean, I miss. It's so funny. Crack Addict we use every week because it's not licensed, so we can use it. Oh. It's funnier than hell. Yeah. That's our watch along trailer music every show, because we advertise our watch alongs with that music because Fred never got a license.
There you go. I wish that song would be on Spotify, but whatever. I just wanted to say this about this comment here. Earlier we were talking about like fans complaining about things, and this is one of those complaints. Oh man, I miss the old days. When they used to use rock songs. You have to keep in mind. You have to just accept the way that things have changed. WWE is not catering to 40-year-olds and what they want for music. They're catering to what the young 20-year-olds and under, teenagers, what do they think is popular right now? What do they like music-wise? That's what they're going for. They're not going for the 40-year-olds. So you just have to accept that times have changed, and it doesn't really matter like what the theme music is for the pay-per-view. It might add a little bit to the atmosphere and excitement level, but it's probably only a small amount. So, it doesn't bother me that much. Like, sure, I would prefer if they use the music that I really like, but, I'm not their target audience at this point. They're trying to draw new fans.
Yeah, and I think the entrance music is much more important than the music of the show. Even the weekly shows, like I couldn't even tell you what the themes of Raw and SmackDown are right now. I got no friggin' idea. Yeah, and so entrance theme much more emphasis needed. The show themes, kind of whatever.
Yeah. Just enough of the weekend. 4 years in a row. Come on.
Yeah, dude. What does he know? What info does he have locked up? What does this guy know?
Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, how long until Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift, everybody. Yes.
Sings at WrestleMania. I mean, I don't know how much money they have or they're willing to spend. I'm going to say it's highly unlikely in all likelihood, because WWE doesn't like to spend more money than they have to, and Taylor Swift is not coming cheap.
If the Kansas City Chiefs or the Kansas City Stadium host a WrestleMania and her and Travis Kelce are still together, don't rule it out.
No, never say never, but I would say highly unlikely in all likelihood. All right. So on that note,
we have definitely learned never say never within the two of us. That's for sure.
Absolutely. We're at about an hour and a half, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, Jeff, so much for being on tonight. And by the way, As far as other questions, I do have some other emailed questions. Thank you all that sent in questions. I will be saving those for a future No DQ&A video. So if I didn't answer your question tonight or Jeff answered it, I'll do it on the next No DQ&A video. I will keep them saved. Jeff, go ahead, plug whatever you got as far as the Jeff Meacham Network goes. I don't think I have
don't worry about it. Don't worry about a graphic.
But I'll throw that up.
I mean, those are very outdated. You go and I should take that down, like for real. Like those are so out of date. We got seriously take it down. We got a lot of stuff coming up. That's a little bit better. But we have more people in the multiverse. Yeah, basically just the same old stuff this week. This next weekend, there's not a watch along going on, so we're just going to be plugging along, doing Meech's musings on tomorrow. Staffway Sports Bar on Tuesday. Greg Shear Show Wednesday. We will have a mic night on Saturday, just a typical open mic night. It's next weekend that gets crazy because we're doing watch. There you go. That'll work. We do watch alongs of the major shows. So we'll have one for King and Queen of the Ring. We'll have one for Double or Nothing. We're doing the retro watch alongs of the May 99 pay-per-view and the follow-up Raw. So I'll plug that more next week. But yeah, just, like you always say yes to nodq.com, like, subscribe, and comment. All those channels you just saw, please give them a like and subscribe and follow, because you never know when we're going to go live, especially me. So wanted to thank everybody for having me come on, and thank you for having me come on. It's 22 years this year, brother, and we're still going. It's crazy.
Yep. And thank you, Jeff, as always, for being on. Much appreciated. Much love to you. And it's always great to have you on. Fun stream tonight.
Miss you, man.
Miss you
there
too.
You go. There you go. Yeah, Venice Beach, man, on the rooftop. And that's a reaction to an answer I probably wasn't expecting, knowing Rob Van Dam. But yeah, that was the interview that got me back working full-time with NoDQ.com again. So again, I thank RVD for making us both grow up a little bit and get over our bullshit between Aaron and I.
Absolutely. So shout out to Rob Van Dam. He's a great guy. Was a pleasure to have him on
always.
the NoDQ channel, and he's always welcome back. Maybe one day, you never know.
I already put it out there. If anybody books Rob on 420 next year and he's not in Vegas WrestleMania, I'm going to kick whoever it does. I'm going to kick the ass.
Right, you got to have him.
To hang out with Rob.
He's got to make a cameo at WrestleMania, right?
He has to be in that stadium. He lives down the friggin' street, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah. Shout out to Steve-O. Love you, Steve-O.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Great guy as well, and hopefully we'll get to see Steve-O in the future. He's in Chicago, not too far from where I'm at.
There you go.
That's it. Thank you guys again for tuning in. And No DQ Review should be back Tuesday, but again, it's not confirmed. We will be back. It's just a matter of when Virtue's home from his honeymoon. So shout out to Virtue, and we'll see you all soon. Say yes to No DQ. Buy a shirt, nodq.com/merch, and we will see you all next time.